Wow, you guys can spell. Good on you.
Hold this, I'm getting out of here.
I guess I'll start with, hey, I'm sorry, I'm comfortable under an umbrella. Too bad. Here's a little shout out. The Atheist Film Festival. Where are you? Atheist Film Festival? August 11th in San Francisco. Good. My dear friend, co-producer on The Aristocrats, one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, and somebody who introduced me to a lot of this community, and I owe him a debt of thanks that I can never repay. Say hello to Mr. Penn Jillette.
Hello, Reason Rally. This is Penn Jillette from Las Vegas, Nevada. And I would love to be there. I was invited to be there. I want to be there. But I can't be there because I am honoring a contract. I have to be doing the Penn and Teller magic show here in Vegas. And I'm honoring that contract because I made a promise. And because that's the right thing to do. Because I have morality, just like all of you. And it's about time we grab the moral high ground. Many people who are religious, they are sometimes doing their good deeds, their charity, their kindness. Sometimes comes from reward and punishment, going toward reward and fear of punishment. I can make the argument, and I have, that the only ones with true morality are us. We are doing good because it's good, and we are doing right because it's right, and not for reward or punishment. We have love for each other, we have community, we have charity. And what I am sick of is atheists saying, you know, we can also be moral, we can also do good, we can also do charity, we are good too. I'm done with that. That's over. I am taking the moral high ground. We are the people who believe in this life. We are the people who believe in morality. If you are doing something for reward or punishment, you do not have morality. Morality must come from inside you, from your mind, and from your heart. You can't say, don't hit your sister and I'll give you an ice cream sandwich. You must not hit your sister because it's wrong to hit your sister. As a parent, I don't want my son to not hit his sister because if he hits his sister, I won't give him ice cream. I want him to not hit his sister because not hitting his sister is the right thing to do. Well, with the exception of when his sister was acting like a real dick. And then he said, guess what? Dad was looking the other way. But that's not my point. They're children. We've grown up and we now have morality. To some atheists, being a pinko, commie, lefty, socialist is a really good thing. To some atheists, being a whack job, nut, Ayn Rand objectivist is a really good idea. Atheists do not gather together around a philosophy, a political philosophy, or a moral philosophy. We do not have one unified thing that goes with being an atheist. But we do have morality. So, why should we band together? Why should people who are based on a negative, there is no God, band together? Why should people who might be left, might be right, might be in the middle, have no political or moral or philosophical agreement, band together? Because the simple fact that there's no God does matter. And the simple fact that there are atheists in the United States of America matters. And we need to be counted. We need to be a minority that has some guts and some power. And we need to make it okay to be an atheist. And the way to do that is to band together. Even if our politics and our morality and our philosophy are different, we have to band together and simply say, some of us in this country believe there is no God. Because there is no God. So let's make it so politicians cannot trash us. Let's make it so they're as embarrassed to say something bad about atheists as they are to say something bad about Mormons. Mormons. No, as crazy as you people are, as hated as you are by your neighbors, as powerless as you are, you need to have more respect in the United States of America than Mormons. Let me show you my atheist underwear. No, I don't have special magic underwear, but I do have underwear with the Incredible Hulk on it. I do. I have underwear with the Incredible Hulk on it. And if someone who wears Mormon magic underwear can be respected in the United States of America, then certainly someone like me, someone like you, who's wearing Hulk underwear can do okay. And it's about time we all stood up together and said, you know, we're atheists, we're okay, you're gonna have to respect us or there's gonna be trouble because we win the Nobel Prizes. We we make breakthroughs in medicine and we are the most fun to be around. So let's all band together and remind people there's no God and we're okay about it. Peace. Thanks a lot for coming to this.
Is this your first time performing underwater? Tim Minchin! Tim's such a non-believer, he doesn't even believe in shoes.
This is fucking ridiculous. What's wrong with you people? Standing in the rain because you all don't think something similar. I don't think this is going to work. This is a song called Confessions in 3 movements. And the first movement is entitled Feminism. It goes out to Rebecca Watson. Even these people can be divided. I believe that women have the right to walk the streets at night without being afraid for their lives. And I believe a woman has the right to choose what happens to her body without suffering the judgment of the conservative right. And I believe a woman has the right to wear the clothes she likes without being treated like dirt. And I think we men are pathetic, how we seem to use aesthetics as the measure of a woman's worth. I'm ashamed on behalf of my sex for making women feel like objects. Fuck, I love boobs though. I just really love them. Fuck, I love boobs though. I just wanna rub them. They are just so juvie, they make me feel groovy. I would rather watch boobs than a movie. I just really love boobs! Yeah, boobs. The second movement is entitled Poverty, open bracket, altruism. Closed bracket. People are entitled to basic human rights, whether they are rich or they're poor. And I believe a world where no children are starving is a world worth fighting for. And I try to remind myself even when I'm struggling. How incredibly lucky I am, and I don't think it's okay that the luxuries I crave should come at the expense of my fellow man. I'm sure we could do a little more to alleviate the suffering of the poor. Fuck, I love boobs though. I just really love them. I don't really mind if I am behind, below or above them. They are just so jubbly, they make me feel lovely. I would rather own boobs than a pub. I just really love boobs. What? Yes, boobs, yeah. The final movement is entitled The Environment. I believe the planet that we live in is a living organism, and we must treat her carefully. I don't think we can assume we can just go on consuming her resources indefinitely. The earth's not a bottomless pit, and we can all do our little bit. Yeah! I love boobs though. I just really care for them. They are equally fun when they're 21, octogenarian. They're just so flappy, they make me feel happy. I would rather eat a boob than a bat. Evolutionary theory says bosoms are buttock-like protrusions designed to tempt men in situations when they can't get a glimpse of girls' bums. I find such hypotheses dumb. It's like that one that says lipstick is for making your lips look more like the lips of a happy vagina. Since they said that, I can't look my great aunt in the eye. Why do you have to say that? Oh, why? From the first little suck of colostrum to the grope of the nurse in the old people's hostel, we're just fucking monkeys in shoes. And who would have thought that there'd be a small tribute to Whitney Houston at this rally? There's a lot unexpected. She's no longer in pain. Hi! This is fun, I guess. This is sort of fun. I don't want to be here. We don't want to have to be here.
No!
It's a pity, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Lies!
300 years after the Enlightenment. We'd still have to be here having a fucking rally for the obvious. We are not the crazy ones. That's fucking great banner. I don't know, I think we probably are. It's just not about that. Alright, I'm gonna do a love song now. I've got a wife. Thank you. You can also recognize legal relationships as well as geography. I have a wife. I've been with my wife for 18. Amazing, this is all amazing. I've been with my wife for 19 years. I don't need your fucking pity. Do with a blowjob. It's not true. I mean, it is. It's true, isn't it? But when you've been with someone that long, when Sarah's played such a fundamental part in my understanding of life and of who I am, it's very... One comes to the conclusion that we're soulmates, you know, that she was sent to me back then in 1993 in Perth, Western Australia. So I'd like to play a song for my one true love. It's called If I Didn't Have You. If I didn't have you to hold me tight, if I didn't have you to lie with at night, if I didn't have you to share my sighs and to kiss me and dry my tears when I cry, well, I really think that I would have somebody else. If I didn't have you, someone else would do. Your love is one in a million. You couldn't buy it at any price. But of the 9,999,000 other possible loves, statistically, some of them would be equally nice. Or maybe not as nice, but say smarter than you, or dumber but better at sport, or colouring. Well, I'm just saying I think I'd probably, if I were a rich man, I guess I would be with a surgeon or a model or a rally of the Royals or a Kennedy or an nymphomaniacal exhibitionist heiress to a large chain of hotels. If I were a rich man, maybe I would fiddle with the rich man girls. I'm not saying that I'd not love you if I were wealthy or handsome, but realistically there's lots of fish in the sea, and if I had a different rod I would conceivably land some. Even though I'm fiscally consistently pitiable and considerably less Brad Pitt than Brad Pitiful, am I really so poor and ugly that you think only you could possibly love me? And I think I'd probably, and look, I'm not undervaluing what we've got when I say that given the role chaos inevitably plays and the inherently flawed notion of fate, it's abstruse to deduce I found my soulmate at the age of 17. It's just mathematically unlikely that at a university in Perth I happen to stumble on the one girl on earth specifically designed for me. And if I may conjecture a further objection, love has nothing to do with destined perfection. The connection is strengthened, the affection simply grows over time, like a flower or a mushroom or a guinea pig or a vine or a sponge or bigotry or banana. And love is made more powerful by the ongoing drama of shared experience and the synergy of a kind of symbiotic empathy or something like that. So I trust you girls without saying that I would feel really very sad if tomorrow you were to fall off something high or catch something bad. But I'm just saying, I don't think you're special. I mean, I obviously think you're special, but you fall within a bell curve. I mean, I'm just saying, I think I probably, I think you are unique and beautiful. You make me happy just by being around. But objectively, you'd have to agree that, baby, when I found you, options were relatively thin on the ground. You're lovely, but there must be girls as lovely as you, and maybe more open to spanking or table tennis. I'm just saying, I think I'd probably, I mean, I reckon it's pretty likely that if, for example, my first girlfriend Jackie hadn't dumped me after I kissed Winston's ex-girlfriend Nia at Steph's party back in 1993, enough variables would probably have been altered by the absence of that event to have meant the advent of a tangential narrative in which we don't meet. Which is to say there exists a theoretical, hypothetical, parallel life where what is not as it is, and I'm not your husband and you are not my wife, and I am a stuntman living in LA, married to a small Portuguese skier who, when she's not training, does abstract painting, practices yoga and brews her own beer, and really likes making home movies and suffers neck down alopecia. Coincidental isolated hair loss, but with all my heart and all my mind I know one thing is true. I have just one life and just one love, and my love, that love is you. And if it wasn't for you, darling, you, yeah, I think I'd almost definitely have somebody else. A song about sacredness, language, and offense. It's about prioritizing ethical ideas and deciding where to place your anger. Fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, he's a fucking motherfucker, yeah. Fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, he's a total mother, yeah. Fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, fucking fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucker, fuck the motherfucking Pope. Fuck the motherfucker and fuck you, motherfucker, if you think that motherfucker is sacred. If you cover for another motherfucker who's a kitty fucker, fuck you, you're no better than the motherfucking rapist. And if you don't like the swearing this motherfucker forced from me and reckon it shows moral or intellectual paucity, then fuck you, motherfucker. This is language one employs, but one is a little bit cross at motherfuckers fucking boys, yep. Means you unthinkingly brand me, and I'm thinking apostate. This has now to do with other fucking godly motherfuckers. I'm not interested right now in theological debate. There are other fucking songs and there are other fucking ways. I'll be a religious apologist on other fucking days, but the fact remains, if you protect a single kitty fucker, then Pope or Prince or Plumber, you're a fucking motherfucker, yeah? And I don't give a fuck what any other motherfucker believes about Jesus and his motherfucking mother. I've no problem with the spiritual beliefs of other fuckers, while those beliefs don't impact on the happiness of others. But if you build your church on claims of moral authority and with threats of hell impose it on others in society, then you motherfucker can expect some fucking wrath. But it turns out you've been fucking us in our motherfucking asses. Fuck the motherfucker and fuck you, motherfucker, if you're still a motherfucking papist. If you covered for a single motherfucker who's a kitty fucker, fuck him, he's as evil as the motherfucking rapist. And if you look into your motherfucking heart and tell me true, if this motherfucking stupid fucking song offended you with its filthy fucking language and its fucking disrespect, if it made you feel angry, go ahead and write a letter. But if you find this song more offensive than the possibility the Pope protected priests when they were getting fucking fiddly, then listen to me, motherfucker, this here is a fact. You are just as morally misguided as that motherfucking power-hungry, self-aggrandized bigot in the stupid fucking hat. You got a spare 10 minutes? I'm gonna do a poem. Yeah! That's what you're here for, right? Poetry reading? Yeah. HuffPo. That's what HuffPo is gonna write. The biggest poetry reading in Washington, D.C. history occurred today, showing that the needs of poets should be taken into account in the next election. This is a rant. It's called Storm. Let's go. In a North London top floor flat, all white walls, white carpet, white cat, rice paper partitions, modern art and ambition. The host's a physician, bright bloke, has his own practice. His girlfriend's an actress, an old mate of ours from home, and they're always great fun, so to dinner we've come. The fifth guest is an unknown. The hosts have just thrown us together for a favour because this girl's just arrived from Australia and she's moved to North London and she's a sister of someone or has some connection. As we make introductions, I'm struck by her beauty. She's irrefutably fair with dark eyes and dark hair. But as she sits, I admit I'm a little bit wary because I notice the tip of the wing of a fairy tattooed on that popular area just above the derriere, and when she says, "I'm a Sagittarian," I confess a pigeonhole starts to form and is immediately filled with pigeon when she says her name is Storm. Conversation is initially bright and light-hearted, but it's not long before Storm gets started. You can't know anything. Knowledge is merely opinion. She opines over her Cabernet Sauvignon vis-a-vis some unhippily empirical comment made by me. Not a good start, I think. We're only on pre-dinner drinks, and across the room my wife widens her eyes, silently begs me, "Be nice." A matrimonial warning not worth ignoring, so I resist the urge to ask Storm whether knowledge is so loose weave of a morning when deciding whether to leave her apartment by the front door or the window on her second floor. The food is delicious, and Storm, whilst avoiding all meat, happily sits and eats as the good doctor slightly pissedly holds court on some anachronistic aspect of medical history, and when Storm suddenly insists, "But the human body is a mystery. Science just falls in a hole when it tries to explain the nature of the soul." My hostess throws me a glance. She, like my wife, knows there's a chance I'll be off on one of my rare but fun rants. But my lips are sealed. I just want to enjoy the meal, and although Storm is starting to get my goat, I have no intention of rocking the boat. Although it's becoming a bit of a wrestle, because like her meteorological namesake, Storm has no such concerns for our vessel. Pharmaceutical companies are the enemy. They promote drug dependency at the cost of the natural remedies that all our bodies need. They are immoral and driven by greed. Why take drugs when herbs can solve it? Why use chemicals when homeopathic solvents can resolve it? I think it's time we all return to live with natural medical alternatives. And try as I like, a small crack appears in my diplomacy dike. By definition, I begin, alternative medicine, I continue, has either not been proved to work or been proved not to work. Do you know what they call alternative medicine that has been proved to work? Medicine! So you don't believe in any natural remedies? On the contrary, Storm, actually, before we came to tea, I took a remedy derived from the bark of a willow tree, a painkiller that's virtually side effect free. It's got a weird name. Darling, what was it again? Aspirin? Vajaspirin? Oh yeah, aspirin, which I paid about $1 for down at the local drugstore. The debate briefly abates as my hosts collect plates, but when they return with desserts, Storm pertly asserts, "Shakespeare said it first. There are more things in heaven and earth than exist in your philosophy. Science is just how we're trained to look at reality. It doesn't explain love or spirituality. How does science explain psychics, auras, the afterlife, the power of prayer?" I'm becoming aware that I'm staring. I'm like a rabbit suddenly trapped in the blinding headlights of vacuous crap. Maybe it's the Hamlet she just misquaffed, or the 6th glass of wine I just quaffed, but my diplomacy dike groans, and the asshole held back by its stones can be held back no more. Look, Storm, sorry, I don't mean to bore you, but there's no such thing as an aura. Reading auras is like reading minds, or tea leaves, or star signs, or meridian lines. These people aren't applying a skill. They're either lying or mentally ill. Same goes for people who claim they can hear God's demands, and spiritual healers who think they got magic hands. By the way, why do we think it's okay for people to pretend to talk to the dead? Isn't that totally fucked in the head? To some crying woman whose child has died and telling her you're in touch with the other side. I think that is fundamentally sick. I hear that there's no such thing as a psychic. What are we, fucking two? Do we actually think that Horton heard a who? Do we still believe that Santa brings us gifts, that Michael Jackson did not have facelifts? Are we still so stunned by circus tricks that we think the dead would want to talk to pricks like John Edward? Storm, to her credit, despite my derision, keeps firing off cliches with startling precision, like a sniper using bollocks for ammunition. You're so sure of your position, but you're just closed-minded. I think you'll find that your faith in science and tests is just as blind as the faith of any fundamentalist. Wow, that's a good point. Let me think for a bit. Oh wait, my mistake, that's absolute
Bullshit!
Science adjusts its views based on what's observed. Faith is the denial of observation so that belief can be preserved. If you show me that, say, homeopathy works, then I will change my mind. I will spin on a fucking dime. I'll be as embarrassed as hell, yet I will run through the streets yelling, "It's a miracle! Take physics and bin it! Water has memory! And whilst its memory of a long-lost drop of onion juice seems infinite, it somehow forgets all the poo it's had in it. You show me that it works and how it works, and when I've recovered from the shock, I will take a compass and carve fancy that on the side of my cock." Everyone's just staring now, but I'm pretty pissed and I've dug this far down, so I figure, in for a penny, in for a pound! Life is full of mystery, yeah, but there are answers out there and they won't be found by people sitting around looking serious and saying, "Isn't life mysterious? Let's sit here and hope. Let's call up the fucking Pope. Let's go watch Oprah interview Deepak Chopra." If you want to watch telly, you should watch Scooby-Doo. That show was so cool because every time there was a church with a ghoul or a ghost in a school, they looked beneath the mask. And what was inside? The fucking janitor or the doo-doo around the water slide. Because throughout history, every mystery ever solved has turned out to be not
Magic!
Does the idea that there might be knowledge frighten you? Does the idea that one afternoon on Wikipedia might enlighten you frighten you? Does the notion that there might not be a supernatural so blow your hippie noodle that you'd rather just stand in the fog of your inability to Google? Isn't this enough? Just this world? Just this beautiful, complex, wonderfully unfathomable natural world? How does it so fail to hold our attention that we have to diminish it with the invention of cheap man-made myths and monsters? If you're so into your Shakespeare, lend me your ear. To gild refined gold, paint the lily, to throw a perfume on the violet is just fucking silly, or something like that. Or what about Satchmo? I'll see trees of green, red roses too. And fine, if you wish to glorify Krishna and Vishnu in a post-colonial, condescending, bottled up and labelled kind of way, then whatever, that's okay. But here's what gives me a hard on. I am a tiny, insignificant, ignorant bit of carbon. I have one life and it is short and unimportant, but thanks to recent scientific advances, I get to live twice as long as my great uncles and aunts. Twice as long to live this life of mine, twice as long to love this wife of mine, twice as many years of friends and wine, of sharing curries and getting shitty at good-looking hippies with fairies on their spines and butterflies on their titties. And if perchance I have offended, think but this and all is mended. We'd as well be 10 minutes back in time for all the chance you'll change your mind. You guys are doing a wonderful, wonderful, slightly soggy thing. Thank you so much.
How about a hand for this sign language interpreter, S.B. Morgan? That was stunningly beautiful just to watch that. Of course, she was working with the words of the great Minchin. Take it over. Now, as you know, we have some video clips from people who wanted to be here today, but couldn't. Well, please watch the video screens because this next gentleman really couldn't be here today. Mr. Christopher Hitchens.
I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion. And I think it should be treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt. And I claim that right.
You're better off thinking for yourself and taking all the risks, and I might add, all the pleasures that will come from that. The most overrated of the virtues is faith.
God did it. That's what they're saying.
Do love your own enemies, don't be loving mine. My enemies are the... I don't love them.
If I was told to sacrifice them to prove my... We're all monotheists.
Oh no, it's totally Zeus.
No,
Technical
I think it's
difficulties.
Thor. No, it's a nuke.
Hey, come on, the guy's not feeling well. Jeez, you people are a tough crowd. You know what, we're going to try and get that working, but in the meantime, I'm going to bring up our next speaker. Everybody here today, everybody that you've seen speaking and performing, I have tremendous amount of respect and admiration for. This next gentleman, I think I have a little extra special respect and admiration for. He is the Executive Director of the Calgary Center for Inquiry. He's on the Board of Directors of Recovering from Religion. He is here to say a few things to us all, and some to his family, who also happen to be attending today, because he is the son of Pastor Fred Phelps. Please welcome a hero, Nate Phelps.
Thank you very much. So this is the largest gathering of non-believers in the history of North America, maybe in the history of the world. I would call this a target-rich environment for any self-respecting deity. And not a natural disaster in sight. You can't explain that, Dave. Perhaps he's distracted torturing Christopher, pulling his wings off. Seeing my family out there protesting, standing behind barriers with their garish signs, espousing the ideology of their God, the prevailing emotion for me is sadness. I see the results of a lifetime of controlled indoctrination. I see a system that vilifies new ideas, shuns new discoveries, clinging rather to ancient notions about the nature of our world. A system deprived of new ideological genes, leading to a form of intellectual inbreeding that begets distorted, ill-formed beliefs. I see what happens when individual choice is restricted by false consequences. I think of the young people who've paid the price for leaving that place, cut off completely and permanently from all they've known and loved. I know the years of fear and anguish they will face as they struggle with the messages hardwired in their brain. The messages that constantly threaten their resolve to be freed of the shackles of hatred and judgment. The certainty that overwhelms them at times that they will suffer an eternity of torture for their decisions. I consider the terrible waste of intellect, talent, and resources. Resources that could be used to heal, grow, and support, used instead to cause pain and express hate. I think of the myriad of others who've suffered in similar dogmatic environments, their adult lives hounded by the shadows of fear, guilt, and self-doubt. And finally, my heart goes out to the millions who see and hear the cruel message of my family, a message that is met with tacit approval by too many in this society, a message of rejection that seeps into their hearts, leaving them to wonder why a creator made them gay just so he could punish them. It's a terrible, terrible waste. They called me a rebel. For years, I bore that label with shame until I realized that confronted with the God of my father, rebellion is the only moral option. When I left that place on the night of my 18th birthday, I left with a mind trained to judge and hate. I left with a certainty that I had displeased God and would be punished for it. I avoided religion for years until I married. With the birth of my children, I decided to return to religion and seek the kinder, gentler God of the evangelical Christians. I studied, read, listened constantly to radio programs, prayed incessantly, and asked Jesus into my heart time and time again. During those years, I lived a double life, staunch apologist by day and troubled skeptic by night. I took my questions and doubts to my friends in the church, and when they couldn't answer, I went to the pastor. Still dissatisfied, I sought out local and even national leaders of the Christian movement, always searching for that elusive nugget of truth that would seal my faith. Then one sunny September morning, the illusion of a personal God that I tried so hard to believe in exploded over the skies of Manhattan. Even as the ashes and ruin of this horrific act of blind faith settled over New York, Washington, and Pennsylvania, I watched people across the country scrambling to that same irrational altar for their answers. In the fierce storm of emotion that rolled across this country, one realization rose to the surface of my mind with blinding clarity. Certainly, this mechanism of unassailable blind faith is one of the greatest risks mankind faces today. Christopher Hitchens was once asked what one thing he would change about this world if he could. He said he would do away with the insane idea that faith is a virtue. If you invoke faith as justification for your belief, you must accept the same from others. And every person who retreats to faith bears a measure of responsibility for every act of hate and violence justified by it. In spite of that realization, I despaired of how we might ever become a nation that revered reason. But today, looking out at this amazing crowd, I can actually see the path. All around us today is the evidence that we're not alone in our convictions, that the supernatural need not be invoked for humans to have morality and purpose. In our insistence that knowledge be distilled by a rigorous process of inquiry and evidence, and in our willingness to admit that sometimes we simply do not know. I have a friend back in Calgary. He's a staunch humanist of 80+ years. We meet for coffee regularly, and I take those opportunities to mine the wisdom of his years. He's the kind of man I would have as a father were it my choice. Ross talks about humanism as a city on the hill, a beacon for the world to see and understand that we can be good, no better, without God. It's a worthy goal that I would strive for. I've had the pleasure of working with several organizations over the past few years that promote these ideals. The Center for Inquiry needs no introduction as a leading international advocate for reason and science. CFI in Canada started nearly 5 years ago, and we've seen tremendous growth across that country with branches in all major cities now. I've also had the opportunity recently to start working with Recovering from Religion. This organization fills a critical niche, providing education, counseling, connections, and community for the swelling number of people who struggle with the many issues associated with walking away from their religion. With over 100 branches across the U.S. and Canada, the leadership of Recovering from Religion is working overtime to meet this.
Inspiring sight. I was expecting great things even in fine weather. In the rain, look at this. This is the most incredible sight I can remember ever seeing. The sharper critical thinkers among you may have discerned that I don't come from these parts. I see myself as an emissary from a benighted country that does not have a constitutional separation between church and state. Indeed, we don't have a written constitution at all. We have a head of state who is also the head of the Church of England. The church is deeply entwined in British public life. The American Constitution is a precious treasure, the envy of the world. The First Amendment to the Constitution, which enshrines the separation between church and state, is the model for secular constitutions the world over and deserves to be imitated. How sad it would be if, in the birthplace of secular constitutions, the very principle of a secular constitution were to be betrayed in a theocracy. And it's come close to that. How could anyone rally against reason? How is it necessary to have a rally for reason? Reason means basing your life on evidence and on logic, which is how you deduce the consequences of evidence. In 100 years' time, it seems to me inconceivable that anybody could want to have a rally for reason. By that time, we'll either have blown ourselves up or we'll have become so civilized that we no longer need it.
I believe it's H-E-A. There's no spell check?
When I was at school, we used to sing a hymn. It went, "It is a thing most wonderful, almost too wonderful to be. After that, the hymn rather went off the rails, but those first two lines have inspired me ever since. It is a thing most wonderful that on this once barren rock, orbiting a rather mediocre star on the edge of a rather ordinary galaxy, on this rock, a remarkable process called evolution by natural selection has given rise to the magnificent diversity of complexity of life, the elegance, the beauty, and the illusion of design which we see all around us, has given rise in the last million years or so to a species, our species, with a brain big enough to comprehend that process, to comprehend how we came to be here, from extremely simple beginnings where the laws of physics were played out in very simple ways. The laws of physics have never been violated, but the laws of physics are filtered through this incredible process called evolution by natural selection to give rise to a brain which is capable of understanding the process, a brain which is capable of measuring the age of the universe between 13 and 14 billion years, of measuring the age of the Earth between 4 and 5 billion years, of knowing what matter is made of, knowing what we are made of atoms, brought together by this mechanical, automatic, unplanned, unconscious process, evolution by natural selection. That's not just true, it's beautiful. It's beautiful because it's true, and it's almost too good to be true. How is it conceivable that the laws of physics should conspire together without guidance, without direction, without any intelligence to bring us into the world? Now we do have intelligence. Intelligence comes into the world, comes into the universe late. It has come into the world through our brains and maybe other brains in the universe. Now, at last, finally, after 4 billion years of evolution, we have the opportunity to bring some intelligent design into the world. We need intelligent design. We need to intelligently design our morals, our ethics, our politics, our society. We need to intelligently design the way we run our lives, not look back to scrolls. I was going to say ancient scrolls. They're not even very ancient. About 800 BC, the book of Genesis was written. I am often accused of expressing contempt and despising religious people. I don't despise religious people, I despise what they stand for.
Yeah!
I like to quote the British journalist Johann Hari, who said, I have no contempt for you, I have so much respect for you that I cannot respect your ridiculous ideas. The electromagnetic spectrum runs all the way from extremely long wave, radio wave end of the spectrum to gamma rays at the very short wave end of the spectrum. And visible light, that which we can see, is a tiny little sliver in the middle of that electromagnetic spectrum. Science has broadened out our perception of that spectrum to long-wave radio waves on the one hand and gamma rays on the other. I take that as being symbolic of what science does generally. It takes our little vision, our little parochial small vision, and broadens it out. And that is a magnificent vision for what science can do. Science makes us see what we couldn't see before. Religion does its best to snuff out even that light which we can see. So we're here to stand up for reason, to stand up for science, to stand up for logic, to stand up for the beauty of reality and the beauty of the fact that we can understand reality. I hope that this meeting will be a turning point. I'm sure many people have said that already. I like to think of the physical analogy of a critical mass. There are too many people in this country. There are too many people in this country who have been cowed into fear of coming out as atheists or secularists or agnostics. We are far more numerous than anybody realizes. We are approaching a tipping point. We're approaching that critical mass where the number of people who have come out becomes so great that suddenly everybody will realize, I can come out too. That moment is not far away now, and I think that with hindsight, this rally in Washington will be seen as a very significant tipping point on the road. And I would particularly appeal to my scientific colleagues, most of whom are atheists. If you look at the members of the National Academy of Sciences, about 90% of them are non-believers, an exact mirror image of the official figures of the country at large. If you look at the Royal Society of London, the equivalent for the British Commonwealth, again, about 90% of them are atheists. But they mostly keep quiet about it. They're not ashamed of it, they just can't be bothered to come out and express what they feel. They think religion is just simply boring, and they're not going to bother to even stand up and oppose it. They need to come out. Religion is an important phenomenon. 40% at least of the American population, according to opinion polls, think that the world, the universe indeed, is less than 10,000 years old. That's not just an error, that's a preposterous error. I've done the calculation before, and it's equivalent to believing that the width of North America from Washington to San Francisco is equal to about 8 yards. I don't know that I believe that 40% figure. It stands up, it's been apparently so for about ever since the 1980s. But what I want to suggest you do when you meet somebody who claims to be religious, ask them what they really believe. If you meet somebody who says he's Catholic, for example, say, what do you mean? Do you just mean you were baptized Catholic? Because I'm not impressed by that. We just ran a poll, by my foundation in Britain, just ran a poll in Britain in which we took those people who had ticked the Christian box in the census, and by the way, that figure has come down dramatically. We just took the people who ticked the Christian box, and we asked them, why did you tick the Christian box? And the most popular answer to that question was, oh, well, I like to think of myself as a good person. Well, we all like to think of ourselves as good people. Atheists do, Jews do, Muslims do. So when you meet somebody who claims to be Christian, ask him, what do you really believe? And I think you'll find that in many cases, they they give you an answer which is no more convincing than that I like to be a good person. By the way, when we went on to ask a specific question of these only 54%, what do you do when you're faced with a moral dilemma? Where do you turn? Only 10% turned to their religion when trying to solve a moral question. Only 10%. The majority of them said, I turn to my innate sense of goodness. And the next most popular answer was, I turn for advice to relatives and friends. So when I meet somebody who claims to be religious, my first impulse is, don't believe you. I don't believe you until you tell me, do you really believe, for example, if they say they're Catholic, do you really believe that when a priest blesses a wafer, it turns into the body of Christ? Are you seriously telling me you believe that? Are you seriously saying that wine turns into blood? Mock them, ridicule them. In public. Don't fall for the convention that we're all too polite to talk about religion. Religion is not off the table. Religion is not off limits. Religion makes specific claims about the universe which need to be substantiated and need to be challenged and, if necessary, need to be ridiculed with contempt.
Yeah.
I want to echo what my colleagues from the Richard Dawkins Foundation have said. I am an outsider, but we're well staffed in America, and we're going to spread the word along with our colleagues in other organizations throughout the length and breadth of this land which is the fountainhead, the birthplace of secularism in the world. And as I said before, let's let that tradition down. Thank you very much.